What's up everybody, welcome back to a brand new video on Lexalexus. Today it's the return of Championship football and my weekly score predictions. We've made it to match day 12. So guys, if you want to get involved in terms of the prediction league, which you can enter if you enter your score predictions in the comments down below. This is what the table is currently looking like in terms of going into match day 12. Kind of in the top 3 at the moment, but I really need to up my game. We've got some really tight competition this year. Even if you're not appearing on the table, your results will be counted. It just means you just got to work that tiny bit harder just to get into the leaderboard. And I promise you, the more times you predict, the more likely you'll eventually make an appearance on this table. Because some very interesting games to predict, and obviously 2 new managerial appointments, which I'll be talking about as well. If you guys like what you see, please give a video a like. It does tremendously help the growth of this channel. Please also hit the subscribe button, as that really helps. We're trying to get to 1,500 subscribers. We're nearly there actually, so guys, please hit that subscribe button if you've not done so. That really does help, and please also share the channel too. All of that really helps. But without any further ado, let's start predicting these weekend's games. We'll start off with tomorrow's game, Hull versus Luton Town. A peculiar choice for a Friday night game, and Hull in particular really need to try and fix this poor form that they're currently on at the moment. It's not a really good run of form as well. I mentioned recently in terms of my updated predictions that Hull have got a form of 5 defeats and 6 at the moment, and they really do need to fix something there. One thing I was praising Hull at the start of the season was their home form, but since they lost their first home game to Sheffield United, they've just not been great since at home, with their next home game coming as a 3-0 home defeat to Stoke City. So we'll see if they can turn this around against the Luton Town side, where I feel like they've had a steady start to the season so far. 13 points picked up so far this season in their opening 10 games, which is right around you would expect for Luton Town. As a prediction, I've got more confidence with the away side to get a result there. So as a prediction, I'm going to edge the away side with a 2-1 away victory. But let me know, guys, what you think of that prediction in the comments down below. Now we've made it to Saturday's games. Let's start off with Blackburn versus Millwall. Both teams in around a mid-table position. Arguably Blackburn in a more advanced position in 7th place, picking up 5 wins so far this season in their 10 games with a 50% win rate percentage. Millwall just below that with only 4 wins in their opening 10 games, but they are not far behind at all. In fact, they're only 1 point behind Blackburn Rovers there. So a win for Millwall can really allow them to actually swap places. This is how close this section of the table is in around this point of the season. Now, I am really concerned with Millwall's away record though, and that is why I'm feeling actually inclined to back Blackburn here at the moment. They've still picked up some pretty consistent results at home, Blackburn, and with Millwall on the other hand, they've got the 2nd joint worst away record in the whole championship. So with those stats in mind, I'm going to edge Blackburn. So as a prediction, I'm going to go for a 2-1 home victory to Blackburn, which will definitely continue their decent start to the season. So I'll go 2-1 Blackburn. Let me know what you think in the comments. Next game to predict is Blackpool versus Norwich. So Norwich are really on Sheffield United's tail. They lost a little bit of ground actually just before the international break when they dropped points against West Brom. They obviously fell behind in that game as well, so they did well originally to try and get themselves back into it. And they face a Blackpool team where for me, it's like they're struggling a little bit now with 3 defeats in their last 4 games, only 1 win in between that, which was that very narrow 1-0 away win against Huddersfield, which I would dare say for Huddersfield themselves were quite unlucky not to get a result from. So Blackpool, for me, their results are not really encouraging me at the moment. With Norwich on the other hand, they have been a bit more defensively shrewd with only 9 goals conceded so far this season, which is actually the 2nd best record out of all the teams in the top 6 so far, with only Sheffield United having a better back line than that. Right, but as a prediction, I think Norwich will get a win, and I think it'll be relatively comfortable. I just don't see enough attacking threat from Blackpool that's going to trouble Norwich, for my opinion. So as a prediction, I'm going to go for a narrow 2-0 away victory. It could be a classic example that Blackpool sit back, soak up the pressure, and they'll frustrate Norwich for quite a bit. But one good chance, then the floodgates will open. So I'll go 2-0 Norwich. Let me know what you think of that in the comments down below. Next game to predict is Bristol City, and they face against Queen's Park Rangers. You can look at this as a kind of playoff clash in a weird way. So Bristol City are in 9th place and they're only 1 point off the top 6. Queen's Park Rangers are right in the top 6, in 6th place right now with 15 points. Both of them doing relatively well. Bristol City did lose back-to-back games, but I mentioned when I put them in the top 6, which I think as some of you thought, am I overestimating Bristol City a little bit? Maybe. But for what I've seen with their attacking play, when I saw them in my live watch-along against Cardiff, I saw really good evidence that if Bristol City can nail their back line and actually get a good balance with their defence and attack, Bristol City, I think, can find enough consistency, because I think their squad is also really good too. And with QPR, I always look at the two big talisman players of Billic and Chair to be the two that's potentially going to make QPR click in terms of creating big chances. And it'll be really interesting to see if anyone else can step up to the plate. But as a prediction, I think I'm going to back Bristol City here. They've done really well with their home form recently with 3 clean sheets, 3 consecutive 2-0 wins at home in a row. I don't think it'll be 2-0 because I think QPR on their day, they can create some trouble. But I think it'll still be a 2-1 victory to Bristol City. That'll be my prediction for this game. Let me know what you think of that in the comments down below. Next game to predict is Cardiff versus Burnley. Now, as of recording, Cardiff do not have a manager as of yet. Hearing a couple of links being thrown in here and there. But, you know, I always have to put that disclosure that potentially when this video comes out, Cardiff may have a new manager. And it may mean this prediction is a bit outdated. But ultimately, Cardiff find themselves in 18th place and they've got a good amount of players in. Their depth has improved, but their quality on the ball, you know, it's looking like at the moment that it's just not quite being utilised in the way that they think they should. And that is a big problem. With Burnley, they've recovered very, very well. They've stayed unbeaten for quite a long period of the season. So the longer they keep this unbeaten run going, Burnley will be a very difficult team to catch. They managed to win in their last game just before the international break as well, which was that narrow 2-1 victory against Bristol City, which I've already said that Bristol City aren't going to be an easy team for this year. Burnley, with one of their last couple of away games, they beat Wigan by 5-1. I think this will be a particular similar one, especially if Cardiff have not got that manager to potentially make sure that they are structured right from defence to attack. So as a prediction, I'm going to go for a 3-1 away victory to Burnley. I think they may feel pretty fresh into this game. So I'll go 3-1 to away side. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next game to predict is Coventry versus Middlesbrough. Now this could be looked as a relegation 6-pointer. Both of those teams are in the bottom 3 as of now. But if any team needs to pick up 3 points, it's Coventry, because they are only on 3 points right now in 7 games. They are really starting to lose a little bit of ground. And right now, if Middlesbrough can get a win over Coventry, they will amass a 10-point gap from them. And bearing in mind, Middlesbrough are occupying the last relegation place. Coventry cannot afford for them to fall this far behind, you know, the path they need to be chasing to get out of this predicament. Good news for them, it looks like Callum O'Hare is nearly back to full fitness. When he's back, I think it could be a really pivotal moment in Coventry's season. Middlesbrough on the whole have been relatively disappointing, just underwhelming, I think is the best way to put it. And I think in a way they have been quite unlucky in some certain games, but defensively I don't think they've been as good enough as I feel like they should. As a prediction here, I think Coventry have relatively improved. They've got 2 draws, but can they turn those draws into wins? And my response to that is I just don't think they will at the moment. I think this drawing run will continue. As a prediction, we're going to go for a 1-1 draw. I think both teams will be really determined, but I think naturally they'll cancel each other out. So I'll go 1-1. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next game to predict is Reading versus Huddersfield. So this is one of the first two teams that have just changed their manager recently. Let's talk about Huddersfield first, where they've appointed Mark Fortheringham as their new manager. Definitely knew the name, and he has been a player that has had a pretty interesting career going in between England and Germany. So in England, you may have known him for when he was playing at Norwich. For Germany, you may know him when he was playing at Freiburg. So he's had a pretty decent career, and his last managerial job was him being assistant manager to Hertha Berlin. And definitely there was a lot of high praise for this manager as well, and definitely had a really positive reaction when his appointment was announced on Twitter as well. So I'm intrigued about this one. I think another maybe potential Daniel Farke figure coming from the Bundesliga, a bit of an unknown prodigy a little bit, and could potentially take the league by storm. We're going to have to be patient and find out to see if he can potentially be as much of an impact. Now with Reading, of course, they've got a really good home record. They did lose their last home game though against Sunderland in the way that they did. And the reason why I might actually back Reading here is not even just from the squad. I think it's going to take a bit of time for Mark Fortheringham to potentially implement everything he's want to do. You know, he was literally announced today as of recording, obviously yesterday at this point of this video going out. So I don't think he's got a lot of time to set his ideas across. And with Reading, for how confident they've been at home, they might get something here. So I'm going to edge Reading with a 2-1 home win. I think it'll be very close though. Let me know what you guys think about it in the comments down below. Next game to predict is Rotherham versus Wigan. So another big managerial move as Paul Warne leaves Rotherham to join League One Derby. I tell you what, it was a very frosty response from the Rotherham crowd, and even some rival fans of not liking Derby were really slating for decision as well. Unfortunately, in this day and age, in any business, not even just football, but money talks, and clearly Derby had a really big offer for him that he couldn't turn down, and he probably felt in his heart that he took Rotherham as far as he could. You know, they gave, Rotherham a really good start to the season for them to finish, or not even finish, but to be in 8th place at this moment of time. But is this going to be the start of a decline for Rotherham? That is what I'm intrigued about. Can they have a good enough character to potentially kick on with the absence of someone so important like Paul Warne, who's been at the club for, I think it was 6 seasons at least he's been there for. So it's really difficult to potentially move culturally for someone who stayed at a club for so long. They face a Wigan team where, away from home, Wigan have done relatively well. It's been their home form, Wigan, that they've not done so well so far. So I think Wigan may pounce on this situation that Rotherham are in, and I think they may sneak something here. So as a prediction, I'm going to go 2-1 to Wigan. I think they may sneak a result. But let me know, guys, what you think of that prediction in the comments down below. Next game to predict is Sheffield United versus Birmingham. Now, unless we get a load of injuries with this Sheffield United team, I really don't see this team slow down. And even that, they still got up to a full starting 11 of players injured. It's just incredible that they can still churn out positive performances. And even if they may not be playing well, positive results to still get some really good results. And Sheffield United are the only team in the Championship to have a 100% flawless home run. Birmingham have improved their away form. They were not picking up a single point away from home. They've actually picked up 2 wins in a row away from home. But having said that, I've got more confidence in Sheffield United sustaining that really immaculate home form. So as a prediction, I'm going to go for a 3-0 victory to Sheffield United. But I wouldn't be surprised if Birmingham make it closer. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next game to predict is Sunderland versus Preston. So it's the Alex Neil derby. Alex Neil has managed both of these clubs, and both are in their own right trying to get to some really good ground in the Championship. Sunderland having a much better success with that, with them being in 5th place in the table. But one area that does need to improve is their home record, because they've only amassed 1 home win so far this season, although that home win was their latest win that they had really recently actually. And I've got to say, when they beat Reading by 3-0, that goal that they scored, that 3rd goal, was absolutely sensational. More of that please, Sunderland, because they've been coping really well, actually, having the absence of Stewart. It was that 3-0 victory they had against Rotherham. It was an incredible performance by them. And if they can continue that potential going into a Preston team where they will find it tricky, because Preston do not concede many goals. They've only conceded 4 goals so far this season in their opening 10 games. But one thing that'll be a bit of a relief for Sunderland, they've only scored 3. So it could be a very low scoring game again, especially when you consider a Tony Mowbray-like sort of manager. But Sunderland have just kind of defined that odd, really, and kind of letting them play their own way. I feel like Sunderland are going through a bit of a really positive run at the moment. So therefore, I'm going to go for a Sunderland win. I'm going to go for a narrow 1-0 victory to the Black Cats, and it would definitely strengthen and tighten their grip on the top 6. So I'll go for 1-0 Sunderland. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next game to predict is West Brom versus Swansea. So both West Brom and Swansea are in the bottom half of the table, but West Brom especially would definitely want to try and kick on from the international break. Likewise with Middlesbrough, I'd say both West Brom and Middlesbrough have definitely not performed up to par for what their attack has suggested. Both have really struggled defensively, but also with their goalkeeping performances as well. As another point I mentioned in my updated predictions, David Button actually has the worst save rate percentage with shots faced out of any goalkeeper. Joe Lumley's the only one that kind of rivals him with the save rate percentage. And then next on the list is Middlesbrough Stefan. Both Stefan and Button need to really improve. And it was a point that I did mention, I think even in my official predictions, that Button, I wasn't too sure with him being a goalkeeper, but I really hope he proves me wrong, because I definitely say, especially when it comes to penalties, I think he's quite reliable, but as an outfield player, I don't really see him having the confidence. He's not as commanding. And Swansea as a whole, they've been a little bit inconsistent, but they picked up their form when they needed to in a really good time, actually. They ended the international break with 2 wins and 3, with a defeat sandwiched in between that, which was a narrow 1-0 defeat to Sheffield United, which, to be fair, was a very harsh one, with Sheffield United scoring in the last minute of that game as well. So I do think performances have been on the up for Swansea. At home, I think West Brom have been better than away from home. So as a prediction, I'm going to say both teams will cancel each other out, and I'm going to say a 1-1 draw. I've not predicted many draws today, so I'll go for a 1-1 draw in this game. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Last game to predict is Stoke and Watford. So this is the last team who has changed their manager in the international break. So Watford, within a couple of hours, they dismissed Rob Edwards, after which you can argue, yeah, not the most ideal start to be 10th place in the table, but only 1 point off the top 6. And just like that, Rob Edwards was only given 10 championship games, already dismissed, and they've replaced him with Slaven Bilic. So definitely an experienced manager, definitely I feel like probably a more attractive manager to what the ownership have. You know, I think they looked at Rob Edwards being a risk, and based on 10 games, they thought the risk didn't pay off. I think a bit premature to I'm not going to say sad, but just to move him on so quickly there. And definitely the reaction has been very negative on the Watford fans there, saying that they've actually had enough with the ownership there. And I think the pressure is really going to be on them now. If they do not finish in the top 6, Watford, they'll be looking at that decision to get rid of Rob Edwards so early as a real bad one. So Billic has definitely got to really deal with the pressure, and I feel like he can do that. You know, he had the pressure to get West Brom up from the Championship to the Premier League, and he did so with not too much stress on his mind, although he probably should have been more comfortable than it was. They face a Stoke side, which they're still finding their feet under Alex Neil, with only 1 win he's picked up since taking over as manager. But I think it's going to be an interesting spectacle, and it's also a live game as well, so that could potentially change things too. As a prediction, I think it'll be a slow start for Bilic, but I don't think it'll be a defeat as of yet. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw, because typically Watford just draw away from home. They can't get enough chances to amass a win. So I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. Let me know what you think of that in the comments down below. So guys, that is all of my predictions for the championship games. Let me know what you think of that in the comments down below. And guys, make sure you predict the championship games too, so you guys can be involved in the prediction league. But now wrap it up for today, guys. If you guys enjoyed it, please give the video a like and just remember to help the channel. Please do hit the subscribe button. It also really helps the growth of this channel. And please share the channel too. All of that helps as well. Thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are legendary if you saw me in this video. And as always, I'll see you guys soon. Take care, everyone.